I'm talking to Jeremy George, the Chief Operating Officer of ForgetMeNot Africa. Jeremy, tell me how the company started.
Well, ForgetMeNot Africa is owned by two partners. On the one hand, the technology is provided by ForgetMeNot Software, which is a Hong Kong-based company, and finance is provided by Lon Zim, who are a specialist African investment company.
Tell me how the software works.
Basically what we do is provide a bridge between internet messaging and SMS messaging. So we give people with basic handsets the ability to send emails, to chats, to use Facebook and normal kind of internet applications, but from a very basic handset using the SMS channel.
So if I've got a very basic handset, how does it work? How do I send an email?
What we do is we talk to the network operators and we put a connection into their message center. We then allocate a range of reply numbers, what we call virtual numbers, on their network. So if a subscriber sends a message to one of those reply numbers, it ends up being terminated either as an email or a chat according to predetermined rules.
And in terms of the length of the message the individual user can send, is that one SMS, two SMSs? How long can the message
send? They can send as much as they like.
Do they get charged though for?
Yes, you would get. Well, it depends on the billing that's implemented by the network, but typically, yes, if you sent two SMSs worth, it would cost you two SMSs. Yeah.
So where did this software come out of?
ForgetMeNot Software developed this. They've been working on it for about 4 years. It started as a reminder system for doctors and dentists to reduce missed appointments, and then developed into where it is today.
And tell me, how many companies in Africa are currently using the software?
We have 6 companies who've launched in the last 18 months or so. And there's about another 9 who are waiting in the wings and hopefully will be launching in the next few months.
I understand also soon you've got an announcement coming up for a new signing.
Yes, we're very pleased to get our first Francophone launch, which was Worried Congo Brazzaville, who launched 2 days ago. Yeah, so that's good news for us, and we're watching with interest as the numbers grow there.
And give me some examples of the larger companies you've sold to give people an idea of who's using it.
The two major companies that we've spoken to and that have launched are Safaricom in Kenya and Globacom in Nigeria.
And in both of those two markets, how many users have you got using the software?
I can't give you exact numbers, obviously, but we're talking in hundreds of thousands.
Okay, I was told in Nigeria it was close to 1 million.
Getting up towards that level, yeah.
Okay, and how is this changing the behaviour of users?
It's early days yet, but it's very useful for people to be able to receive emails on the go, not to have to go into internet cafes. One of the problems with internet cafes, you have to pay for 20 minutes or half an hour, whereas if it's just 1 or 2 emails that you're receiving, you can just get that on your phone and reply to it for the cost of an SMS. So that does change people's habits, I think.
And are people using the social chat function?
Facebook has not been launched yet, but we're talking to a number of networks, those who've already launched with the chat and the email, who will be releasing it, and some other companies who might just go with the Facebook application. And
how does the chat function work?
It's much the same as the email. There's a range of reply numbers. Once you send the keyword online to a shortcode, anyone with Yahoo or Google Talk or Windows Live Message or something like that will see your status as online and will be able to send you a message in the normal way. That will then be delivered as an SMS, and you can reply to it, and then that will come back to their messaging client.
In terms of your ambition for Africa, how many operators do you think should be using this software, say in 2 to 3 years' time?
We would want to see at least one operator in every country in Africa, and for example in Kenya we have 2 operators, Safaricom and you. So there's no reason why we shouldn't have more than one in each territory.
And the operators are comfortable that happens? They're not asking for exclusivities?
Some want exclusivity and some don't. Obviously exclusivity is there on the table, but there's a price attached to exclusivity. We prefer not to give exclusivity.
Okay, and How many territories outside of Africa are you in?
Well, we're ForgetMeNot Africa.
Yeah.
We don't operate outside of Africa. We're purely African. But our parent company is talking to a number of companies. There are no launches as yet, as the focus is on Africa, but they're talking to companies in the Central America, South America, Middle East, and the Far East as well.
Okay.
It's an emerging market-based technology, and so that's where we're looking.
How does the business model work?
It's predominantly revenue share. We implement it, get it going. There's no charge for that, and then we take a slice of the messaging.
And typically, between two numbers, what would that slice be?
Around about 50%.
Okay, so
50%,
it's a reasonable sum of money for yourselves.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
Yeah.
typical for a value-added service of this nature.
Okay. And this is in some ways a transitional software, isn't it? Because at some stage, presumably, more and more people will be using email on their phones. Where does the company go as that process begins to take place?
We already have a range of products which are not released yet, which are using data channels rather than SMS. So we see what we're doing with SMS as being a transition into a data-based solution. The way it can work is, for example, in a city you might have a good 3G connection or edge connection, something like that, and you can use the data-based transmission. But once you leave that city, and in many parts of Africa, you don't get any data or very poor data connectivity, and it would then seamlessly switch to SMS.
So in other words, it gives you 100% coverage provided
Exactly.
there's mobile coverage somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And what are the kinds of products you will be developing in the future then? You alluded to them. What sorts of things will be possible through ForgetMeNot?
We call our product Message Optimizer, and it's a platform as such. It's a way to connect any kind of internet application to SMS. So we can have bespoke databases and things which can be queried from a simple handset. So useful to, say, for example, police departments, checking license numbers, that kind of thing. Very easy to write applications for this. So the scope is limitless. There's the obvious IM, continuing the IM family. We support most major IM clients at the moment, including Facebook, but ones that are in the pipeline, Skype, Twitter, which is obviously it's a unique product, but that's something that we could provide a solution for as well.
Okay. And these applications you were talking about, things like the police checking licenses, who will do that? Will you do that, or will there be a user?
It could be us, or it could be a third party. We can provide API documentation to enable third parties to develop those kinds of products.
Okay. Finally, I understand you've done some survey work. What does the survey work show that users are interested in using the service?
Yes, we've done some work in Kenya and in Nigeria. We found all sorts of interesting things. For example, Facebook is very, very widely used in Africa. When you consider the poor PC penetration throughout Africa, it's remarkable that it is such a popular service. We've also, again, this is something you would expect to see, but we've had it confirmed that the main people using our service are younger, say 18 to 27, that kind of age group. Lots of good feedback from these focus groups.
Right. And last question, the total number of users in Africa, do you have a kind of global figure as to how many people are using?
Using our service?
Yeah, using the ForgetMeNot service.
Yeah, we're measuring it in hundreds of thousands at the moment and hoping to move into millions next year. But it's certainly looking as if we're going to achieve those kinds of targets.
And how fast is the growth curve going up?
Well, it's pretty much exponential, because obviously you have a growth in one network, but the minute you add another network, then that radically increases the growth. So yeah,
so in Kenya,
growing very quickly.
Presumably with two networks, you're beginning to see some of the networking effects that you would imagine would happen.
I think what's going to happen is that people will start to expect to get chats on their phones, on their entry-level handsets, and expect to get Facebook and email. And so behaviour will change. People although they may aspire to having a data connection on a smartphone, this is a good step for them, and it's something they're going to be looking for.
And your investor, Lonzim, just tell me a little about them.
Lonzum are a specialist African investor. Their main investment currently is in Zimbabwe and the countries neighbouring Zimbabwe, which is where we first started talking to Econet there. And we've spread out from there, but they have a number of interests in that part of the world.
Okay, and who's behind Lonzum?
Lonzum is owned by Lonro. Again, they're a pan-African investment company, specialist investment company.
The not the Lonro of old, but presumably the successor company.
It's a new iteration of the Lonro of old.
Okay, Jeremy, thank you very much for talking to me today.
Thank you, Russell.